Hi, Caden. It's Nick here. I'm just on my own today because Martin's doing parent stuff and we've got these assessments. We've got to get them done for you. So, Martin will add his comments later on about maximum offer and expected rent and so on. I'll have a go at giving you these numbers now, but um, you've seen a few of our assessments, so you know roughly the order of things. With all that in mind, let's get into it. And here we go here. Right. Now, the very first thing is that it's in reasonably good condition. Now, this is probably Edwardian, i.e., it's probably around 1900. And as you would imagine, this is pre-damp proof course. So sometimes they used to use bitumen, like a tar, to split the lower bricks from the upper ones. But what I'm always on the lookout for is damp with these older buildings. And it's got reasonable EPC, but let's just look at the condition. Now, the first thing I notice is that the bricks are quite good. And if I look here on Google Street View, assuming there is, oh yes, there it is. This gives us a more detailed view of the quality of the brickwork and so on. Now I'm uploading a lot of stuff. There we go. All right, so that's it there. And this is in pretty good order. The bricks are good. It's well built. It's cavity wall. I know that because the way the bricks are orientated. If you get the half bricks, it shows that the two layers of wall are kind of fixed together. Anyway, it's cavity. That's good. Now there are some tingles on that roof. You can see here, you see little white marks. So some of the slates have come loose. There's quite a lot of them actually. And if you notice on the roof beside it, there aren't any. And therefore, I'm slightly concerned about that in that the roof may have issues. Not major issues, it's just the roof will probably need some more work at some point. It's like it's a point of hassle, let's say. And we don't like hassle, or certainly I don't. Anyway, right. So the question is with this, is that the original roof? It probably is. And if it's the original roof, then it probably doesn't have felt underneath because that only came in around 1940, 50 when bitumen felt, i.e., like a roll of stuff with bitumen in it, with this felt material, that would be laid on top of the roof joists, and then the slates would be laid on top of that. If a slate got loose, then the waterproof membrane underneath got the water. If you don't have that, a slate comes loose, then you got yourself a leak, and that's never a good thing. So this roof has something going on here. Now this is from 2019, and therefore, uh, therefore it's a thing to consider. All right, moving on, and the backyard is fine. This is interesting. So this is being clad in some sort of hardwood or laminate or something. And overall, I think this property had been renovated probably 10 or 15 years ago and it had quite an extensive renovation. And the reason I think this is because if you look at the coving here, modern coving is typically either scalloped or it's this kind of thing which you can just buy in strips and then you can cut and just kind of fix in. But early plaster coving was made differently, and you just don't see that kind of coving used these days. So what I think has happened is that the whole place has had a really, really thorough refurbishment at some point, and all of the plaster and lath walls, i.e., plaster strip or wall, basically wood strips with plaster on top of them, these have all been replaced with plasterboard, which is a good thing. And that encourages me. So there are no signs of damp anywhere that I've seen. You've got some vinyl flooring here, I see. And there's something going on here. Maybe it's a trapdoor or something like that, or just some spare vinyl laid down because maybe there was a kitchen island. I don't know. Something odd about that. But anyway, it's not a big deal. It just is what it is. And you can see they tried to do a little bit of decorating unsuccessfully. That's interesting, but I'm not too concerned about it because it's a built-in wardrobe, that little dark patch. If there was an area spread here, quite often you get damp in the front of houses, but I think this one's okay. I don't see any signs of damp to speak of. Reasonably pleasant bathroom. I think it just generally needs a bit of love. Now I'm going to just go through these. Here are a couple of images. And what are we looking at here? Something, I don't know. And something. Right, let's look at the videos and see how they present. And I'll just bring that to the main screen. I've got one of these fancy triple screen setups. So I've actually got 3 screens, would you believe? I know it's excessive, but I spend my life in front of computers and therefore it's just a little thing. Now, one thing I notice here is the quality of the bricks is very good. And that means that you're not going to get damp coming in because of weather, beating rain. The bricks aren't going to soak up moisture. So that's a good thing. It's a nice, well-built property. And it's on a nice street, and you can see some reasonably good cars around the place. That's always encouraging. Okay, fine. And let's have a look at the next one. Not very good light. Hard. That stairs, I think that is a cladding. I don't think that is the actual stairs itself. It's just some cladding on top of the stairs instead of carpet, basically. And there's our bathroom with damp because they don't ventilate the room properly. And we have hot water from a boiler because there's no electric power shower unit. Decent bedroom, and double glazing seems to be okay. No condensation that I see. Unpleasant carpet, probably worth changing. And here we go here. Now we're moving on to the second bedroom. And that all looks pleasant enough. No issues that I see here. And okay, loft hatch, good. Lots of tall mirrors everywhere. Those are those kind of pressed plastic doors. They're not very nice, but they'll do. And we've got lots of built-in furniture and I think the need for new carpets. And let's have a look here in this place. So it's open. There's an open viewing. So in other words, you've got lots of people milling around looking at the property, and no damp issues to speak of. Some damp issues there. Okay, fine. I'm not concerned about that particularly. I think it's just something to do with that lean-to that needs sorting out. There's some sort of leak there, but I don't think that's a fundamental problem. Somebody likes their exercise, nice bicycle, and a nice kitchen, and no apparent damp issues. Double glazing back door, that's good. It's all fine. It's not lovely, it's just fine. Okay, so all right. It needs some general decoration. We've got the boiler here. That's the right place to have a boiler. Oh, look, some Hong Kong people. And yeah, kitchen is the right place for a boiler, not the bedroom. Often you find bedrooms have boilers in them, which is a bit weird. Some of the older houses do this. All right, now the next thing is, this is kind of interesting that somebody has this plot of land. Now, ultimately, that's going to get built into, I think, just because it's that big and you've got all these old garages and stuff. So anyway, a bit of wasteland at the back, but I don't think that's a significant issue. And in respect to the walk score, this is just the easiest way to see, does the area have loads of amenities? Yes, it does. So there's cafes and shops and whatever, and train station nearby. So it is good for location. And if I go here and we do the old, I'll go 2D just because it's easier to see. And let's just pick a random spot in Manchester, and it's about half an hour into town. So that's pretty good. It's like very commutable, and this is a quiet area. So that's okay too. Right, I'm going to give it some scores. And for condition, I'm going to give it a 3.5. I think it needs a bit of work, but it's fundamentally okay, which is what really matters. Location, it's a 3.5. There are places that are still far out, but closer, etc. It's okay. Area, I think it's okay. I think I'm going to give it a 3.5. Let's have a look at the crime and some of the other data on that. So I may need to just pause. I don't know. We'll find out. M40. Yeah, that's correct. And all right, I'm going to hide that and hide this. So, all right. Yeah, we're in the right part of the world, I think. And very good. Yeah. All right. The area demographically is actually quite good, and it's quite stable. So there's not, in other words, there's not massive amounts of new build. So often with new build, you have areas coming up. There's no real new build to speak of. So it's a solid area. It's been like this for a long time. It's got a lot of ABs, which is interesting. So these would be doctors, lawyers, company directors, people with proper money, let's say, and then plenty of C1s and quite a reasonable proportion of private rented. So therefore, we know that private rented accommodation works in this area. In respect to crime, there's very little. In fact, it's really quite quiet, and that's good. So very low crime, very good demographics. Now, if we zoom out a little and we look at the capital growth story for around here, the way I do it is of something called MSOAs, and an MSOA is about 5,000 properties, and you can see the boundary here. It's just an approximate boundary, and the capital growth around here is just huge. It's probably some of the biggest capital growth I've seen in Manchester, and probably in, well, we'll find out how big the growth is, relatively speaking, in a minute. But anyway, the story with this place was that it didn't grow excessively in the first cycle up. So when we look at capital growth, I'm sure I've shown you this map before, Caden, but 9 property cycles, 10 if you include that, and we're somewhere about here, 20% into the current. In other words, we've got 3 or 4 years left. And in the previous cycle, this area grew, but didn't grow that dramatically. And then it didn't crash that much. So it never really got overbought in the first cycle. That's the first thing. Secondly, it's only marginally ahead of the inflation adjusted high water mark from 2008, and of late it's just been growing like crazy. And it makes sense because it's one of those accessible areas. It's good for Manchester. It's got its own town, basically. It's got its own identity as an area. This is a nice little spot. Now, the only thing with places like New Moston is that it's predominantly about 3-bed semi-detached houses, and they are the thing that you buy in this area for. And this isn't that. It's a terraced house. The terraced, should I say, it's a terraced. It's a terraced house. So it's not really what you would expect Moston. It's not what you'd expect from Moston. And therefore, it's kind of like the less good house in the good area, which can be a problem. Anyway, let's just have a look at the M40 capital growth. So this is for the whole postcode district, and it is one of the strongest in the area. So there's only 2% of postcode districts that are stronger than this for growth. And for M40, let's see, yeah, it's incredibly strong. So, but not every area is strong. So if I go AL2, or let's see, W1, for example, which would be London, then SW1 takes a year to sell. There's just no market. Or if I go M3, I think, which is a M3, 6.5 months. But it's very good for renting. Or not so good for renting, actually. That should be changing, I expect, as people get more comfortable with city centre. But anyway, I digress. The main point is it's a very, very fast moving area. And when I zoom out and I look at capital growth in the area, capital growth is pretty widespread. What's not helpful or what's not encouraging is if, for example, I see an area where, like this one here, this patch is doing well, this not so well, this not so well, I'm less confident. When I see growth everywhere, like extraordinary growth everywhere in this whole area, then I'm like, well, you know what, this is really strong, robust growth. And I think there's a lot left in the tank for this area. With that in mind, I would say that if you include, say, if you assume 5% average inflation per year, plus another 20% on top of that, that's 40% growth, then a property like this will probably go up to 230, 240, that kind of thing. And I think this will get bid high. I think there'll be a lot of competition for it, but it's not going to be the same competition as you get for a 3-bed semi. Anyway, it's got an EPC D, and the question is why? And it's because they think that, well, it's got a filled, so the main wall is filled cavity, nice, but something's holding it back. Okay, well, it's basics. So it's just stuff like having thermostatic controllers in the property, and the way you can read all this is if you see it's the gap between one thing and another. So, for example, they are saying more loft insulation, great, and so you'll go from 59, you go up a point if you get some more loft insulation in, and if you get thermostatic controllers in, you'll go up 4 points, so that's 5 points, and you've probably spent, let's say, £600 so far. And if you can get another 5 points on that, you're not quite to EPCC. So this property would probably make EPCC, but it's going to be a push. It's going to be a little bit of work to achieve that. All right, then the next thing is just the old question about mining. Is there a coal mine nearby? The answer is doesn't seem to be, so that's good. We don't have to worry about that. Is there flooding nearby? Doesn't seem to be. That's good as well. And then we're into the house prices. And here we have Hollingsworth at 158, sold a while ago. And there now we're asking 170, plus it needs about, I would say, 5,000, actually less than £5,000, because you're not going to replace anything fundamental like bathrooms and kitchens. So I would say it's going to need about £3,000 in painting and decorating. And therefore, at 170, this for something similar, let's just have a quick look at this. End of terrace, which is slightly more desirable, but problematic with EPC. Yeah, so that's a similar property with a loft room. Okay, so that makes it more, in theory, that adds value to the property. Overall, I'm going to defer to Martin on this, but I would say this kind of property, I don't think the competition will be quite as intense for this property as it would be for say, these kind of 3-bed semis, because this is what Moston is known for, not for terraced houses. So therefore, I think it'll probably bid up to 175 maybe. It's difficult to say. But that's where Martin comes in. He'll do a valuation and then we will go from there. Now, in respect to the rentals, just going to do a 3 mile radius. Martin has already said he reckons is 800. This is, our rental numbers are always quite conservative, but I would say 800 is kind of the number. If you can get a three, say a 3 bed semi, well, let's go to max beds 2. No, this was 3 bed semi, wasn't it? So let's go 3 beds and 3 beds. Yeah, I think 800 is probably it, just because, again, it's, whilst Moston is, whilst it's a nice property, it's predominantly about the it's about 3 bed semis. All right, so for crime, it's good. It's very low. Demographic is excellent. I would give it a 4.2. Will it sell quickly? Nah. Yes, but I don't think it's as hot a property as, say, a 3 bed semi in the area. Will it rent? Yes, it will, of course. Is it the right kind of price? Well, it's difficult. It's only a good price in hindsight if you get a lot of capital gain, or if you purchase the property and there's some issue and you're able to deal with the issue better than somebody else, and therefore you get value out of it. So I'm just going to give it a 3.5 on price, because there is no right price. Will it yield well? I think it'll yield all right at 3.75. Will it grow? It's in an incredibly strong capital growth area, but it's not the right house for the area, if that makes sense. Okay, so, all right. So it gets a 3.71. Now, what I've noticed, having done a lot of these scores now, is that generally, if it's within the bounds of 3.5, like 3.5 to 4, then it's good. This is good. It has some benefits. It's good. It's not an incredibly strong deal or incredibly desirable. It's good. All right. Now, I've just got different screens. You see, that's why I'm looking this way. And there we go. Okay. In summary, I like it. I think it's all right. The property is fundamentally good. Wrong property, right spot, broadly. And how much competition? Well, there will be plenty of competition for this, but it won't be blisteringly competitive like it would be if it was a 3 bed semi in good condition in the same area. Martin will give his view on cost, on price assessment. My feeling is it's going to go to 175, maybe 180. But I'll know tomorrow. Assuming you're interested in this, let me know. And if so, I'll call the agent and then we'll have our back and forth and I'll tell you what's going on and we go from there. All right. Thank you.